And we're live, yay, and alive, yay. Stacey the Black Feather Intuitive is next, the Phoenix Revolution, and yes, it is. Let's bring her on to reintroduce herself, her show, and what's up for today. Welcome back.
Hi, Nicole. So great to be chatting with you today. And yes, welcome to, it seriously is a Phoenix Revolution, transform unapologetically. And just so grateful to have this show today. And I wanted to come on today just to kind of connect with everyone. We are, and actually, Nicole, you and I were just talking about this a little bit. It is Mercury has stationed direct after a really crazy Mercury retrograde. We're still in, sort of the post shadow of it, but it's well, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't know about you guys, but I have just been feeling, this past month has been, quite frankly, emotionally overwhelming. And the majority of clients that I've been chatting with, friends of mine, myself, the best way to describe it is I've been feeling like I'm, the empathic sponge where normally I can, hop in the shower at the end of the day or hop in the shower at the beginning of the day and wring myself out, just like we wring out a sponge or we wring out a wet rag. And you feel like, okay, I've gotten rid of most of the stuff and now I'm, ready to kind of take on the world. But it's been like we've been wringing ourselves out in the middle of the ocean. So as soon as you untwist what you've released, now it just gets filled up again and you're oversaturated. And so I thought, well, maybe this today is meant to be because, this show deals with transformation, transforming all of the, I want to say, the goodness of the way that we transform and how we grow and evolve. And it also deals with the challenges of it. And I believe that we really are right now in a challenging aspect of that, that Phoenix transformation energy. And wanted to share a little bit. So not all of you who are listening to me, by the way, I'm Stacey the Black Feather Intuitive. I don't know if I said that. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Not all of you are empaths, but a lot of you, like everyone who's not an empath, knows an empath because empaths make up 25% of the population, I believe, is the basic gist, the percentage that is out there. And so if you are not an empath, you're still going to get a lot from the show because I feel like you're going to be given some tools to and ways to look at maybe what the empaths in your life are experiencing. So I don't know if it was time just keeps running in, like days just run into themselves for me. But I want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 days ago. I was watching some YouTube stuff. Actually, I was listening to it when I was getting ready to go in the shower. And something just sort of popped into my feed that it's not something that I normally watch, like this particular individual, but it's Lawless Astrology, Dabney. And I've watched maybe 1 or 2 of her podcasts before, and, I enjoy it, but it's not like something that I go to all the time. Well, her stuff came into my feed, and she started having a discussion about the astrology and how it is affecting us as empaths. And I found it absolutely fascinating. The kind of what she was talking about was like the state of, and she was referring to the state of the world right now and referring in particular to the state of the United States, what is happening right now in our political arena and, just all of the things that are going on. And she was talking about how empaths are the people that typically hold space and hold feelings for everyone else. And the languaging I would use, like I agree with that, but there's also a component of empaths typically are the enablers of society. We see a problem, we feel someone's, challenges or ickiness or feelings that they don't know what to do with. And we are like programmed to help. We're trained to help. We're trained to step in and say, I'm sorry that you're feeling that way. Let me remove you, release you of your burdens, right? Like, let me hold that for you, either by helping you trying to fix it or by just energetically making you feel better by us either being there or listening or, however we do that. And she was talking about, in essence, this same kind of idea of the oversaturation that we're in. And she said, maybe it's time for us as empaths and light workers to release our burden. Maybe this is one of those times where we need to actually step back and allow the rest of the world or the rest of, Americans or the rest of, insert, there's the blank, insert the, your choice in the blank. Maybe we need to stop enabling and allow others to feel the full effect, the full intensity of what we naturally kind of keep them from. And I use the term enabling because in my background, I have a lot of alcoholics in my life, have had a lot of, people with drinking problems. And through that process, I had to break out of a lot of my codependent habits, of trying to fix the problem, solve the problem, getting caught up in the patterns and cycles of their challenges, their games, their whatever. And so, it's going from boundaryless to boundaried. It's going from understanding, this is what is my responsibility, what I can change, and this is what I can't change, right? Not my circus, not my monkeys. And so I've really felt like listening to Dabney, Lawless Astrology, where she was talking about this, it really hit home and it made a lot of sense to me. And I knew why my guides and the universe, sort of put this particular video in my path, because it was the answer I was seeking. I personally have been struggling very much so on an energetic level as well as an emotional level through this time. I know I am not alone because I have a lot of clients who, sort of indicate the same thing. And then I have a lot of clients who are just going on about their day and, planning for the future and, just kind of, doing them, keeping on. And there's just been this, I don't know how to explain it really, but just sort of like it's surreal to me sometimes how I witness people who are so uninformed that they don't have a clue about anything that's going on. And I look at it and I say like, why is it, and again, not to make the show political, but I am going to, please bear with me here. Oh, and of course the door is ringing now and my doggy is having a problem. I think that's the maintenance. Bear with me. This is Mercury, the last phases of Mercury.
We can't hear the dog.
Come back in an hour or so. I'm actually on a podcast. Thanks. Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, I'm glad you couldn't hear everything, but there you go. So you just met Mario, my fabulous maintenance guy. He's going to come back in an hour.
With a dog.
Yes, no, I was talking to Mario. My doggy is barking. Okay, so where were we? So she was really, sort of implying here that, maybe as empaths, this is our time to let some of this shit go. And I'm not going to make this a political show. So please, if you're listening to this, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on in this regard. The bottom line is we're all human. This planet is a planet that we all share together. And, we need to respect one another as human beings. And, she mentioned that, there was just so much of she felt like a disconnect. And everything she was saying, I'm like, yeah, I got you there. It kind of blows my mind that people are not reacting more to the cruelty of what is being done to other people, citizens or not, other people, other humans in our own country, in the country of the United States, but also, like, we've got the war in Gaza right now, we've got the war in the Ukraine, and, all of the things that are, sort of coming up in this regard. And yet, it's the Epstein scandal that seems to be, bringing, waking people up. And it's the economy and the fact that, it always hits our wallets. And to me, that when we're talking about transformation and we're talking about energetics and, rising into our highest and best, and this being an opportunity for us to bring our A game, this just kind of blows my mind, because I feel like we have so much opportunity here to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And the things that I feel are kind of like a no-brainer, like we should have been reacting to this a fuck of a lot sooner than we are. But okay, if it's Epstein and eggs that's gonna kind of, wake people up, and maybe this is the Great Awakening. We in the spiritual community here speak a lot about awakenings and spiritual awakenings and, rising and ascension. Maybe this is, in essence, going to be a bit of a spiritual or an energetic awakening for the rest of the world as well. I don't know. But coming back to Lawless Astrology, her philosophy was really powerful for me, because she said, as an enabler, when we are around people, people automatically feel better that we're there. It's like we take a little bit of the burden off. And as empaths, we know that sometimes all it takes is for us to just be sitting in a room with another person for them to feel better. And they don't even always know why they feel better. But I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here with you empaths. How many times that, you sit with somebody and they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know why I was telling you all of that, but like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I just feel so much better. And, you were just really insightful, or thank you for your kindness. And, they walk off feeling like $1 million. And depending on your boundary level and where you're at with the situation, you may feel really good for being able to help that person and be of service, whether you know them or not. Or you might be left feeling like you need a nap on the other side of that exchange, because you've, inadvertently taken in and taken on some of their pain. And so this whole concept that she was talking about with I'm looping, my ADD is looping, and then I had that little interruption there. So I come back to the alcoholics, people with drinking problems, having to learn how to not enable people. What does it mean when you enable somebody? You stop them from falling on their ass. You stop them from falling down a deep, dark well. And while in theory that sounds amazing and wonderful, but in reality, you're exactly, because they're learning nothing, you're stopping them from having the experiences that their soul has come here to have. They're, for whatever reason, they're experiential learners. They need to have the consequence, be it a good consequence or otherwise, to their choices in order to learn about themselves. And so it's always a tricky fine line for empaths to understand where they fit into all of that, because, it's not that you want, there's someone that's lying on the sidewalk bleeding. You don't want to walk over them and say, oh, I'm so sorry that you're bleeding, but I have to have boundaries, and so I'm not going to help you. It's not where you have to cut them off entirely, but it's also not where you have to, go in and where you're not, maybe you're not qualified or educated. You don't know how to do a tourniquet. You go in there and you start moving them around and moving their body and thinking that you're, and inflicting your version of help onto them. Maybe temporarily it gives them a leg up, or it kind of helps them in the long run. But or in the short term, I mean, but in the long run, they're going to end up right back where they started. And I know that doesn't seem to be like a very direct example or analogy. I apologize for that. But hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. It's that we, as empaths, are so used to stepping up and figuring it out, making it work, finding a way. And her suggestion was, this is our time to be selfish. And it was interesting when she said it, because she said, on my channel, I don't really, tout selfishness. I don't typically, not condone it, but I don't typically tell everyone, hey, be selfish, like that's important. And she said, but maybe that's the lesson for us as empaths right now is we're going to get in the way of the rest of the world. Like this is the rest of the world's opportunity. This is the rest of humanity's opportunity to shine, to show up, to pull their weight, to feel. We've been, just being on the planet as an empath, we carry the burden of a lot of heavy pain, feelings, and emotions, and people don't even know it. You know what I mean? They cross the street from us and they feel better, but they don't know that it was us or whatever. And it's not about, getting praise and accolades for it. It's the reality of the situation. We live on a planet of duality, and we provide a certain level of balance, a certain level of, I want to say, an X factor to the rest of the world to help even things out, or to help them to be able to see where they can go. Like there's nothing wrong with sitting next to that person who's bleeding on the street, calling 911 and sitting with them while you wait for the ambulance to arrive. There's nothing wrong with that. The challenge is if you're like getting in the way of, all of it happening, or you're trying to make the whole thing stop. That is the big challenge. And so, her talking about it's time to be selfish. It's time to choose to say, at this time, I've done enough. It's not my circus, not my monkeys anymore. And so I need to focus on what my vision is for my future and for our future. And that level of energetic focus, that level of, I'm going to say, love the alchemy. I talk a lot about love as frequency, not as feeling. Think of love as source energy, source frequency. It's in everything. This is what we get to work with. This is the resource that we have. We think of love as, hard, and I, feel all these things about whatever. Okay, yeah, fine. That's love as feeling. And there's a place for that. But we're talking about love as frequency, the source frequency that is in everything, including ourselves, that we get to access. We get to blend it and mix it with everything else in our life in order to transmute it into something that is more worthwhile, or that is helpful to our, next goal or dream or desire. And so it was a fascinating topic, and just the way that she just spoke from the heart, and it really resonated with me. And I thought, I don't quite know how I'm going to apply this selfishness. I don't quite know how I'm going to apply this concept, because I really do feel, and there are things that I do, and I'll just share with you guys, love me or hate me. Again, I don't judge you for your choices. This isn't about political. I'm just sharing of myself. I am very liberal leaning. I'm very open-hearted and love, and all of these things that are happening in this country are just breaking my heart. I don't like to see it. I have chosen to do like a lot of boycotting and, things that just feel aligned for me in a way that I can use my voice, speak my truth, vote with my wallet, all of those things, the things that resonate with me as something that I absolutely can do. And she was talking about the selfishness piece that, okay, like find those things that you can do pretty effortlessly, pretty easily, and anything that doesn't feel good, that feels more like, once again, I'm in service in this way, pull back on that for a little bit. And right away in my head, I was like, okay, well, how is that going to affect, the balance of things as we're, sort of moving forward? I don't want to stop something that I'm doing that feels important and significant and where I see that it's making a difference. And so I was thinking about it, and talking to my guides about this as I'm processing this information. And I realized she's 100% right. Everything that my guides have been telling me over the last several months, and I'm hearing it, with other sensitives and other psychics and healers as well. What we need to be focusing on right now is keeping the vision of what it is that we want to create. We need to be in the future. We have done our work in the past and in the present as empaths, as healers and starseeds and light workers. We've done the work to get everyone to this point, or maybe getting everyone to this point is not the right phrasing, more to that we have supported people up to this point. We have witnessed what has been transpiring, the choices that the collective is making. And so now it's all right, the choice has been made, the things are unfolding in the way that they are unfolding. This is, and I talk about this on the channel all the time, sometimes like the change is the kind of change where you can head it off at the pass and you can, make some different choices in that regard. And sometimes it's the kind of change where it's like, it's here, there's nothing, you're not stopping that freight train. The idea here is, okay, what are you going to do, with this change? How are you going to make this change work for you? And so I feel like that's where we're at. It doesn't mean that we have to stop things that align us to our feel-good space, to our core, to our center. We don't have to stop things that align us to where we want to be. What we need to put a stop to is the holding pain and intensity and the raw, unadulterated truth from those that, we have maybe in the past deemed as unable to handle it. And I want to say, who are we now at this point to deem whether you can handle it or not? That's a control issue, right? That's us taking over the idea that, and I'll talk as a starseed now, identifying as a starseed, like I talk about the story of the ugly duckling. Starseeds are swans living among ducks. It doesn't make them better or worse than the ducks, but just different. And swans are here to teach the ducks different things about who they can become. And so that perhaps now is where the focus truly needs to be. And I feel like, just as I'm sort of digesting all of this, because that's exactly what's happening, guys, is I'm processing this as I'm talking it out with all of you. I feel like it's for us really coming to terms with, I've done everything that I can do with the ball. Like the ball now is rolling. So it's not helpful for me to get in front of the rolling ball coming down the hill to try and stop it. That is exhausting. That connecting our fear and reacting through fear, making decisions through fear. That's what it's like. It's like trying to stop the boulder from rolling down the hill and like it's going to crush you. But you're thinking, okay, I got to stop it from crushing everybody else, but it's going to crush you in the process. And who does that serve? And I think the selfish piece is interesting because when she was talking about it, it hit me in a way where it was like my guides were giving me an invitation to really focus on what is it that I would really like to see and do, or what is it that I wish that other people saw in me or did for me on my behalf. So many times in my life, and I don't mean to say like, oh, victim, poor, pitiful me. Nobody ever helps me. That's bullshit. Quite frankly, I have a lot of people in my life who, stand up and say, how can I help? What do you need? How can I support? But I'm speaking a little more in broad terms as that empath. It's programmed in me. I'm used to it. Like I have to really be intentional about my choices and be really present about my choices, and sometimes have to say, why am I making this choice? Why am I doing this thing? Why do I feel the need to, do this or that or the other thing? Because I'm just so used to always putting either myself or my needs on the back burner in order to step in and, support someone else, regardless of what's going on in my own world. And so the selfishness piece was kind of interesting because it was like, by being selfish right now, by putting the focus on me, by not trying to stop that boulder from rolling downhill, I'm now freeing myself up to take a bit of a break while all of the tower is coming down. Because I've done a lot of the work to try and, over my entire life, to try and steer people in the direction of love, to use love as frequency, not as feeling, to not get caught up in hate and cruelty and divisiveness and the drama that this 3D world presents and provides, right? And when I say I am speaking about me, but I'm also kind of speaking about empaths, because that's kind of what we do. Like, that's kind of how we came into the world, and the way the world has engaged with us has shaped how we had to survive, right? And so now I feel like we are in a space of, okay, this is our time to take a break, because we gave it our all, and now it's about letting the chips fall where they may. There's nothing that we can do to stop this. And, just as I'm talking it through, this is very hanged one. This is very phoenix growing. We're in a space now where we've watched or are watching Phoenix burning. The collective is burning. All the structures, all the things that we knew to be so, or that we, in some cases for me, it was like burying my head in the sand about, there can't be that many people in this country that really are racist or are, so hateful or so cruel or so, selfish and caught up in, their own gains. It can't possibly be. I can't believe that about people. Well, okay, Stacey, pull your head out of your ass. Believe it, there are people who are choosing that path. So if they're going to be selfish and choose that path, and then maybe the counterbalance for me at this time is to be selfish and to choose my path. And it's not about trying to convert another person, to change another person's path, to judge another person for their choices. It's really now about, okay, the boulder's gone. I've done all of the work for that chapter. And now my job is to rest up and to focus on what we're building moving forward, because that is my next chapter, not I can witness, I can be an observer of how everything is sort of unfolding. But right now, it's all, I like to say, we're still in the earthquake, and you can't build foundation when you're still in an earthquake. And it's not a good idea to try to pour foundation. You're pouring a cement slab during aftershocks right after an earthquake, because you're just going to keep messing up the foundation, right? You're going to be doing work over and over and over again just for the sake of doing the work. But maybe it's let it all crumble, let it all fall to the ground. And then once the dust settles and the smoke clears, then you go in and then you say, okay, what's left? We do damage control. We clear off, this place or that thing, or we restoration, it's the restoration piece. But right now we are in the Phoenix growing phase, which, if you guys are just new to me, I do have another episode that you might want to check out in the archives or on my YouTube channel that talks about the Phoenix growing phase, which is the hanged one in the tarot. It's the limbo. It's the womb. It's the I receive. There's no the way I talk about it is, in that case, there's no vision. You're kind of not who you were, but you're not necessarily who you're becoming. I feel for us today, as I'm talking about this, our job is to actually create the vision. So there is a little bit of action. There's a little bit of activity that we can take in this arena, but it's not laying foundation in a physical sense. Again, we can't stop this ball from unrolling, right? Like, we just can't. It is what it is. Radical acceptance, radical surrender of what is. But what we can do is we can start putting our focus to what are we going to do on the other side of this when that ball comes to a complete stop, when it has stopped its destruction path. The visions that we're stepping into now, that future creation, is what we can be putting our focus to. And to use that selfishness term, the selfishness is, I'm no longer going to try and save people from themselves. I'm going to allow people to go down whatever dark rabbit hole they need to go down. And it's painful as fuck to watch it. And it's painful as fuck to be in it. The best I can do is to voice my feelings on it, to live to my own integrity. Like I said, for me, it's choosing, to boycott, certain things, and, to give money to places that I feel needed, and to just be kind. Kindness is the new currency. Putting out kindness in the world, and focusing on this too, like everything else, will come to an end. It'll come to a conclusion, and we have to be ready for what's the next chapter. What have we learned from that? And let's start to have a plan. We're gonna have a plan for how we're going to move forward. And each of us, empaths and non-empaths alike, all play a part in this. And I feel like the part that we all kind of maybe are needing to play right now, the food for thought around this is, who do you want to be on the other side of this? And I say this, I always sound like a broken record, but how do you want to contribute to the world at large? How do you want to contribute to the collective? Because it really is your choice. You can choose to contribute to the collective by moving to a mountaintop and meditating for 24 hours of the day. That is a choice, and that is a way that you are contributing to the collective. You can choose to write a book. You can choose to get on the front lines and be an activist in a more political sense. You can choose to not be political in any way, shape, or form, and decide what section of the population you really connect with, and do something that engages with that community. You can build your own community, right? It's really about the evaluation, the get real, the get connected to your core self and your desires on what is coming next. And so the action step, I feel that we can all, relating to this, that you've been feeling really disconnected and oversaturated, and like you wring yourself out, and it's like you're wringing yourself out in the ocean. And so you end up just filling back up, and it's like there's just no end in sight. This is the time now, I feel, to give yourself a break. It's a time for you to receive. So the action isn't in the fixing. It isn't in the engaging in fear. It isn't in the, I need to try and stop, this from happening. It's in the, all right, it's happening. I'm going to put all of that to the side, because not that I'm ignoring it and burying my head in the sand, but because I understand now that the next chapter for me coming online is the vision of the new, the vision of what can be. And this is what I've come here to do. And so we have been so focused on I want to say, what is coming to pass, that it's like we just need a little bit of a boost to remind us, okay, that part is done. Like everything that we've done is done. There's nothing more to do connected to what is. But there's a lot to do now in the what are we choosing to become? What are we choosing to bring in at this time? So I've talked about this a lot from an empath perspective, but for those of you who maybe don't resonate as empaths, here's some food for thought as well. A lot of you are kind of on the front lines of this. Maybe you are witnessing what is transpiring in the world, and you're bringing your compassion to the piece. You're bringing your heart space and saying, oh my God, I don't like that this is happening, and what can I do, to step in? And I would say, go with what resonates. Choose the things that you are feeling comfortable with doing. And then with all of your empath friends, just kind of understand that some of them are feeling like they're being pulled in a number of different directions. And that maybe that's why, I know for me, I've been feeling a huge level of disconnection, like to the point where I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, where is my compassion? Where is my heart? Because right now I'm feeling numb. I'm feeling like I don't want to hear about, anything that's going on. And it's not because I've lost my heart. It's not because I've suddenly, become narcissistic, or as Dabney in Lawless Astrology says, I've become, completely selfish. It's that I'm so oversaturated that I've had to disconnect for survival, right? There's so much feeling that eventually you just shut down. And it's not a safe place for us to be when we're shut down, because that's when things can happen. I don't want to say like that we regret on the other side, but I want to say I talk a lot about reactivity versus responsiveness, right? And so if we're shut down, like it's a protection mode, but right now we actually really need to be open. We need to be connected to our heart spaces, but we don't necessarily need to be connected and open in the ways that we have been in the past. This is about a boundaried version, a new level of boundaries version. And the big part is recognizing, all right, it's time for my new job. I just got promoted, and I'm on a team that is working on a project that's never existed before. So there is no manual for what this is going to look like, but that's the excitement. That's the reason that I signed on for this, because like it's literally a blank slate, and I've got 5,000 bajillion, cajillion, million, whatever colors in my palette to be able to play with. And I've never in this lifetime had this level of potential, this level of opportunity, this level of resource that I can play with. I'm going to digress here for a second. Let's talk about AI. And I know there's a big, once again, humanity just seems to always have to be divisive about everything. And I believe that everything is available to us and all in equal measure. It can be great and it can be bad. It depends on how you choose to use it. It depends on your intention, around the thing. But AI coming on the scene in the last couple of years and about to, I want to say, like, I would say it's already kind of exploded, but like it's about to become a very, I want to say, natural, normal part of society. This is something that we've not seen before on this planet, at least to our knowledge. This is something that this level of technology has literally already turned our lives into something that we could never have even imagined, right? I mean, like, I know for me in my business, like AI has, I'm a writer. I'm naturally, gifted as a writer. I, speak my truth and speak my heart. But there are a lot of things that like used to take me hours and hours and hours and hours. And now with AI, I have my basics and I use AI as a tool to be able to help me with all the spelling mistakes and the nuances of things, and why can't I figure out how to say this? Brevity's not my strong suit, and I need this to be 50 words or less. And AI does it in like 3 seconds. So this is, I feel like when I come back to us, being promoted, and this is our new job, and it's something really exciting because it's never been done before, and there's no manual, so we have to have, confabs all the time to come together and decide, okay, what's your lane, and what's your lane, and what's the thing that you want to be doing, and share your vision, and let's all come together so that we can, take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a little bit of the other thing to be able to come up with the plan for, how we're going to move forward. Because let me tell you, folks, we are going to need that plan sooner rather than later. This is not a situation where it's going to take 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. This is a situation where we are in an accelerated time frequency shift. Timelines, call it just like 24 hours is not 24 hours the way it used to be, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It just isn't. Everything is accelerated. We're doing things much more quickly. So we are being promoted. And when we're doing something like that, when we're shifting jobs, you don't stay at the one company and still keep doing that other job for 40 hours a week while you're also stepping in and doing the new job for 40 hours a week, right? You have to make a choice. And you have to say, okay, goodbye. I close the door on this chapter. I walk away from this job because it's someone else's job now. It's someone else's responsibility. It's someone else's destiny or life path or soul journey to be able to step up and to hold these feelings, to have these feelings, to experience what's going on, to maybe be on the front lines of, this destruction or what the destruction is going to be. I feel like we are not, how do I put this? We are not on the restoration crew to clean up. We're on the restoration crew to build new. And so we're the architects of that. And that, I feel, is kind of where we need to be putting our focus. So for all of those, for all of us who are feeling that level of disconnection, that level of fear, that level of, oh my God, this has to stop, and what am I supposed to do? Like I'm like one wave in the ocean, right? Like how am I going to make, sort of a big difference? For all of us who are in that space, there are also a lot of us who are feeling the opposite, feeling fired up, activated, charged up. I have a handful of clients that are just coming to mind right now who, when we have our sessions together, and these are like clients that I see on a regular basis, these are the ones that I'm thinking of, they're so clear on their path, their activities, their direction, that they're seeing what's happening on the periphery, but they're not letting it stop them. And they're saying, by me doing this, I know that I'm actually going to be helping a lot of the people who are being affected by all of the craziness right now. And so I need to have this foundation in place. I need to have this up and running because, in the next, 6 months to a year or 2 years, there's a subsection of people that are going to need this. And so they're so activated by their vision. They're already, I want to say, they accepted the promotion, and they're in there. They're in like Flynn, and they're doing their stuff. They're not necessarily in the meetings that I'm in where I'm like, okay, let's talk about some fun ideas here because I got a lot of stuff going on, but I need a distraction. I need to feel inspired. I need to feel connected to my fellow humans. I need to feel that there is a reason why I'm, doing these things. I need to move on. Like, I need to get my foot out of the thing. And so, those who are activated, I feel, can provide the inspiration for those of us who feel disconnected. And so we all play our part. And I feel like the question at the end of the day is okay, we all play our part. What part do I want to play? So I feel like this is kind of the energy that I've been in. This is what has sort of been rolling around in my brain for the last few days since I watched this video. And I just really felt compelled to talk about it today on Transform Unapologetically on Phoenix Revolution, because I know that I'm not alone on this planet. I know it. I see it. I feel it. I understand. I know that you guys listening are probably falling into one or the other camp, right? You're in the, God, Stacey, I feel you. Like, I do feel disconnected. I feel anger for, my humans, or I feel numbness. I feel nothing at all. I'm worried about where my heart's at. And then we've got the other ones who are so activated and on fire, and they're like, we're going to get through this. And, I can see that there's, light at the end of the tunnel. And so we just need to, put our nose to the grindstone, or I'm just not going to spend any of my, precious energy dealing with that, because I'm preparing the thing that, the rest of the world is going to need at this time. And so once again, it's a planet of duality. It's I guess, and it's not about like what side do you want to be on. Again, it's what part do you want to play. And I would argue as well that you can play a part in both camps. You can play a part as someone who is saying, okay, I don't want to lose the connection to my heart space and my compassion right now, but it's also okay for me to be selfish and to take a bit of a break on trying to stop the madness, and instead recognize, let the madness do its thing. I can't stop that. That's already in motion. I need to put my focus over here. Or you can play your part in and you can also play your part in the, how can I be an inspiration for those around me? How can I inspire someone who may be feeling dispassionate right now, who may be feeling numb, who may be feeling disconnected? What ways can I intentionally alchemize the love as frequency that is available to me to be able to shine a light, to walk the path, to be the way shower? Again, not dragging them along, but by you doing you and being you, others now have a pathway to follow. Coming back to that selfishness, it's not about having to bring others along. That's energy draining again, right? That's stepping in and trying to help or heal or fix or enable to stop someone from feeling their own pain. That's not what we're here to do. But we can absolutely be way showers. And we are way showers literally by shining our own lights in the way that we want to. The selfishness of doing what you want to do in the way that you want to do it. Trusting and knowing that, your intention is not to hurt anyone. So if you're following your truth and you're following your heart, that's only going to help everyone that crosses your path. And it will, and it may help them in ways that you'll never see or know or cognize in this lifetime. But then again, it might. But you're not doing it necessarily for the praise and accolades and the acknowledgement of it. You're doing it because it's time for you to save yourself. It's time for you to recognize, I matter. I my desire for what I wish to see in this world matters. And it matters so much that if I don't have the energy to put it out there, I'm going to be bummed out on the other side of this, because there will be another side. So intense right now. It feels, so big. It's so, it sounds cheesy to say it, but it's like so monumental. It's overwhelming. And that's where some of the disconnect and the shutdown can occur, because who am I? I'm just one person. You're right. You're just one person. You can't fix it all, but you didn't come here to fix it all directly and single-handedly. You came here to be a part of the mosaic. And so that, I feel, is the direction. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you got back to where we need to be, and that's good, because it really does all come down to us doing us. And this whole sides thing, that's got to go. I think there's actually 3 sides, and then the one on top is the one running the other people like puppets from side to side, and that whole thing's got to go. I think that's what's next. But we've got our next host in the queue, and we're already past the top, so I had to jump in. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. No worries.
Some quick wrap up, shameless self-promotion, and then we'll get on to the next hour. But this has been a good talk.
Absolutely. I really hope that this was helpful for all of you guys. And, if you're struggling, if this has really resonated and you're struggling, feel free to book a session with me, theblackfeatherintuitive.com. We can have a chat about it. We can talk to your guides and my guides and come up with a plan for you that works for you. Would love to hear from you guys. Also follow me on YouTube. I have so much content on there to support you, to lift you up, and, just to keep us going on this wild ride called life. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks, Nicole. You guys just keep transforming unapologetically. We're in it to win it.
Yay. Thanks for being here, Stacey. Enjoy the ride. See you next time.